Yes. Just remember, if you hesitate, I will always jump in with a question.
Hi, Congressman. My name is Jesse Rauch. I am a former teacher.
Okay.
And currently receiving my master's in public policy at American University. And my question is, you have been identified as one of the last authentic New Dealers and a healthcare advocate. And I would like to know how you think the next generation of congressional leaders should proceed on issues of poverty and healthcare for the poor.
With the issue of healthcare, in many ways goes beyond the question of healthcare for the poor. Healthcare for the poor basically is dealt with in the Medicaid program. And there you deal with the state's ability, say, set varying eligibility. In many ways, the real problem of healthcare are people above the very poorest and who are marginally in and out of the labor market. I think probably the best approach is to call on the states to develop some programs and provide funding to the states. In our state, we have extensive healthcare programs in place already. There are gaps, and some money to help close those gaps would be very helpful. I think that's probably the most likely way to have a successful program, and would be my judgment. The question of poverty, you know, I think the growing gap between top and bottom in this country is just a very fundamental problem. Clearly, we should significantly increase the minimum wage, but that's only part of it. I think the capacity for labor to organize is incredibly important. That's been weakened over the years. And you know, the industrial workers of this country didn't become middle class because government mandated it. It was because the government put in the process where they could organize and bargain collectively. I frankly think that in some of our education funding programs, we should pay more attention to folks who have gone into the labor market and help them get back to school for additional training. In many ways, our education programs and our financial aid are geared to the people who go to school full time. And I'd like to see them be more geared to allowing folks go back for training on a part-time basis after they're in the labor market, because part of reducing poverty, or you know, below, I don't know how you describe all the, you know, above poverty but not very affluent earning capacity of people is increased training, and they should be able to do that while they're still working. But then you also, if you're dealing with the basic question of poverty in this country, one of the very difficult issues to deal with, which I don't think we really know how to deal with in government, is the nature of the family. The reality is, in this country, if you have a two-parent family, the kid is not likely to be in poverty. The odds of a one-parent family, a kid being in poverty, are fairly high. And that is part of the equation. We don't like to talk about it many times, but it's part of the equation, but also dealing with a whole host of economic issues that we have to face.
And I'd like to follow up, actually, that because he makes a very interesting point about you being described as one of the last of the New Dealers. Has your view of the role of government changed over the years?
Yeah. See, I'm not sure if I'm you know, where I fit into the New Deal. I describe myself as a liberal decentralist. And there aren't many of us around, I don't think, and there are very few conservative decentralists around. They are highly centralized in their, so I think there's a role for the federal government in providing assistance to states, but not mandating. And you know, but in some ways, I suppose the New Deal basically was, when you think of some programs like Social Security, it clearly had to be done at the federal level. Something like Medicare worked fine. Lots of that was, you know, the FDIC insuring deposits. Clearly had to be done on the federal level. So much of the New Deal, I suppose, really were things that I fundamentally would agree with. But on the other hand, I have skepticism. I'll use an example, No Child Left Behind. I describe that as the ego of the right, the middle, and the left run asunder on the same bill. And I just thought the basic premise of that, and lots of the Democrats argued it wasn't, failed because it wasn't funded. I thought it was just inherently overstretching the bill, excuse me, the ability of the federal government to try and run in that detailed fashion elementary and secondary education in this country. And
why do you think your proposal to try to regulate in some way the size of corporate executive salaries, which you mentioned earlier, just hasn't seemed to go anywhere here in Congress?
Well, we actually have some limit in place. But what I was trying to, my bill was one which said that for tax purposes you could not deduct more than 25 times that paid the lowest paid employee on taxes.
You, the corporate, you, the business,
yeah,
the employer.
And I understand, you know, we didn't limit it, but we limited it in tax. But what I was fundamentally trying to say was a statement of values. And also that there was some relationship between top and bottom in our society, and it's gotten all screwed up, I think. And you take any company, and everyone has some impact on the success of it. And I don't diminish the importance of leadership. I think leadership is incredibly important, but we're way out of whack in this country. But when I originally introduced that bill in '91, my concern was not the top, it was that we more focus on how we get the bottom up in this country. And also, philosophically, I thought there were things government could do, like the gentleman's question, and we can increase minimum wage. But at some point, I think the industrial and corporate leadership has to pay some attention to that issue, because I think as we become more and more divided, and I think probably the numbers on accumulation of wealth is even more out of whack than income. I just think it's bad for the long-term fabric of this country. And so if for no other reason than maybe an occasional irritant by some of the top corporate leadership when they see a proposal like that, and make them think about that issue in some fashion. Because government will play some role in dealing with it, but it also has to involve what's going on in the private economy. And, but you know, we have a whole host of income support programs in this country. You know, we have housing assistance, we have food stamps. I suppose if I had my ideal, people who are working full-time shouldn't have to depend on government for food stamps or for housing assistance. They should be getting enough of what they're working to pay those kind of bills. But increasingly, more and more people are dependent on housing assistance. And that we give to some and not to others. The food stamps goes across the board to everyone, a little more equitable. You know, and so if we aren't willing to deal with it, what we're going to do is mandate, really, that the federal government or state government significantly increase the money that they do in the basics of people's lives, and that is the heart of the healthcare problem. Right. You know, people don't have the money to. It's not all of it, but a big part of it is people don't have the money to pay the health insurance premium. Yeah, if their employer isn't paying a significant part of it, and that's in the political dilemma is finding that money to do it.
Okay, let's hear from another student. Yes, back there, please, if you can come to the mic over here.
Hi, Congressman. I'm Brian Day. I'm actually an alumni from Wagner and the director of the alumni program down here in DC. So my question is, if congressional oversight was all about abandoning the 109th Congress, as many people are saying, what can we expect differently now that the Democrats are going to be chairing and taking over a lot of these committees that have Homeland Security like intertwined all throughout them?
And if you could just add in there a little bit about your views of how the oversight
Yeah,
how it was
do you think
conducted.
cybersecurity will be a piece of that?
I think you'll see significant more activity on oversight. Exactly how they structured, I don't know. But I think it's got to be done carefully. Good oversight requires lots of work. It's simply not a committee hearing where a bunch of people sit and yell at each other. And it requires good staff work. And you know, there are experienced folks in doing oversight, like John Dingell and Henry Waxman around, who I think know how to organize staff to do good investigative work, and I expect that to happen. So I think one of the reasons they'll have longer work week is simply there are going to be committees that are going to be doing oversight, but I hope it's targeted and on major problems, not sort of just simply gotcha stuff.